So up next, I wanted to bring up 211 Broward, and I brought them because, again, we have the spiritual side of things, which is, I love the Lord, but I truly, truly believe outside of spirituality, we need to know the proper protocol and proper procedures. So when we are in the situation, we don't have a Bible near and we just have our cell phones, we need to contact 211. Okay, what should I do? I'm feeling this way. Okay, so I want to pass them the mic. Thank you guys for coming.
Oh, hi, my name is Billy Morgan. I'm with 211 Broward, and this is Michelle here from 211 as well. And we're doing community outreach, and we're sharing the information about 211 Broward. Before I start, I have to say thank you so much for sharing your story. I think we all felt the power in your message, and we're so glad that you're here with us and carrying on that message. So I'm going to tell you a lot about some suicide statistics. I'm going to share with you about what to do, the prevention and aspect of suicide, because that is what we may not know about, the language we need to say, the things we need to do, the signs and symptoms. So prevention is a big deal. Hearing the story before, you had some signs. You know, your mother, your grandmother had just left, and she saw your demeanor, and she saw that something wasn't right. And it may just be that moment, that message in your head. You're like, you know what? Maybe I should go in and check. That moment, you just need to check in with that person, make sure they're okay. Those little things I'm going to talk about today. So, starting off, 211. It's been around for a while. It's a magical 3-digit number that you call when you don't know the number to call. So we're going to talk about a really, kind of an uncomfortable subject today. But with 211, that number is there for you when you need it. If you're feeling hopeless or helpless, it's available to you. But also, it's there for when you're looking to volunteer somewhere. If you're looking for your local library, if you need food or shelter, anybody who's homeless in Broward County, you dial this number and you're connected. Daycare, children's needs, and senior needs, that's the number to call when you don't know the number to call. But the most important thing that we do at 211 is that we're able to talk to you about everything going on in your life. You might need help with your rent. And guess what? We're talking to you. And we hear that hint of hopelessness or helplessness. And we'll go to that extra mile and we'll say, it sounds like you've been struggling with this for a long time. I can hear the pain in your voice about how you're not able to get your bills paid. And then that opens up that floodgate of emotion, and guess what? You're going to talk to us about everything else going on in your life, and we might be able to prevent a tragedy. So we're there to handle those types of calls and get you to intervention if it should happen, get you to look at your internal resources, but also look to your church, look to your friends and family, and reach out for help and explore those options with you. So it's there, and it's 24 hours a day. So I was asked to come here today to tell you about this topic of suicide. It's a heavy subject. So I'm going to go through a few slides here. We have a few, so we might buzz through a few for the sake of time. So let's jump into it. My focus here is for youth-related services, so my angle is going to be more about youth because it's the third leading cause of death for young people, ages 12 to 24, 15 to 24. That's pretty, and that's the CDC statistics. That's pretty scary to know.
I know this presentation was geared towards teenagers, but this information that you just heard, you can take this and go out into the community, observe your children. For those of you that are mothers and aunts, and I don't have no guys in here, but take this information that you learned today and, oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. But yes, take this information. Take this information and go home and just practice everything that was taught to you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. This is Robin Sherry, you guys. He's the pastor here at this church. Oh, I'm sorry. What is associate pastor? That's what he is. So yes. But at this time, I want to open the floor for any questions, any testimonies that you may have. Maybe you attempted suicide and you are an overcomer and you want to share your story with other people who are struggling with it. Or maybe you haven't attempted suicide, but you were depressed a long time ago and you are an overcomer of depression. You want to share your story. I created this place so that people, young adults, can come here and share their stories without feeling judged. This is a no judgment zone. If you guys were here at my first heart to heart, it got really real up in here. People were very transparent, and again, I believe in transparency. When someone shares their story, they're prophesying to you what God can do to your life. You're not alone, and I don't want you guys to ever feel like you are alone in this situation. So, if you guys have any questions, anybody want to have? Okay. Okay, for 211. Okay.
Make it known that 211 is confidential, that it is available, and when they do call and do reach out, are the people that they're speaking to, are they trained to handle these calls?
Okay, so we all are credentialed. We all have training. And any call that comes our way, we all are able to handle anybody who's having thoughts of suicide. Because it may be that you're handling a call where the person needs the local library, and you hear, oh, guess what? They need more than just that, and you hear that in their voice. So we are all trained to handle those types of calls. There was a second part to this question, though.
Was that, and how do you guys reach out so that people, like there's a lot of information that you gave
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't aware of. So
Mhm.
how broad is 211 and letting people know that you guys are available?
Well, here's the beautiful thing here is Miss Michelle is our new outreach person. So she's here spreading the word about 211. She actually set up this meeting today to have me come out. So, and she's going to be spreading the word about 211 and this particular subject as well. So outreach, we're a nonprofit. So we haven't had the luxury of having the funds to have a person that goes out there and does outreach. So we're so blessed to have that. So the other aspect of that is confidentiality. Sometimes we have to break confidentiality to save a life. So that does happen. Now, but our goal is to not have outside intervention. We can get that person to a better place mentally. They feel better. They're going to agree to call us back if they're having thoughts again, and we'll go through that step all through again if we have to. So, but you know, confidentiality is something that that we do value. We want to make sure that that person can call us and talk to us about anything that's on their mind. Yeah, thanks.
Um, Cutting. I know
Oh,
that
yeah.
it can be an overlooked subject, um, and I know this from speaking. I went to a recent event, and there was a psychologist, and there was a question that was asked about cutting,
Mm-hmm.
and he kind of overlooked it.
Oh.
Oh, that's just looking for attention. I was a heavy cutter, and I
Mhm.
was very well at disguising it.
Mm-hmm.
There's not as much signs, of course, the obvious, the marks and whatnot.
Well, yeah, on the obvious
Right.
places.
Right, on obvious
Mhm,
places.
mhm.
I was a cutter on the inside of
Yeah.
my arms and my
Yep,
legs.
Like.
So,
Yep.
of course, you can hide it.
Mm-hmm.
My question is, of course, with suicide, depression and whatnot, I want to know, be more aware, let people be more aware of what are signs of a cutter. Because, of course, I know that cutting can lead to suicide. Yes, it might be a cry for attention,
Right.
but at the same time, as I said, it leads to suicide.
It can.
It can lead to suicide.
Okay, so about cutting, it is a call we get pretty regularly at 211 for our youth because they haven't yet established how they need to feel emotion. So that's their way to feel something. And so we don't go immediately into suicide mode for a cutter. Typically, that person is needing an outlet, is needing somebody to talk to. So we explore that as well. But sometimes that self-harm is something that they're going to need counseling and somebody to talk to. So there's a correlation, but it's actually not like a direct correlation. We have our resources. One of them is really good. It's called kidshealth.org/teens. I think it's a teen link to it, and it has about 5 different articles and audios and videos on cutting and what it's all about and prevention. And so when I'm talking to a youth, I don't know about you, but it's in our database that I make sure they're linked up to that and link up to those youth support groups out there, because there are resources out there for that, but not enough. And cutting is a very common. By the way, does everyone know what cutting is? Okay. So yeah, I mean, now we didn't know about this 15 years ago. I mean, that wasn't a common thing. I mean, we've been doing it, but it wasn't well known. So raising awareness is the first thing, but also there's interventions out there. We need more of them. So I hope I didn't gloss over it. And if that person is having those behaviors, they need to get in touch with us, and we'll either discuss what we can do to get intervention, or just talk to them about ways to deal with their feelings better. Because sometimes that's all it takes, is just helping that person learn better ways to cope with the feelings that they have.
Thank you.
You're welcome. See, I don't have a PhD. Aileen, you are amazing. Wow.
Piggybacking on what she said, I actually had a friend that had the same issue with cutting. I was able to speak to my priest to see if she can get some counseling for it or get some type of help. She did have counseling before years back, speaking back with her, but how do you get them to actually go to counseling or things like that, or to get there? Because they'll say yes in the beginning, and then when the time comes, they don't go. And I feel like it still caused her, she doesn't cut anymore, but she still has depression problems.
Yeah, you can lead a horse to water. So it's really showing that this is important to you too, is one thing, is that, you could say, I'll be right out here when you're done. We're going to get ice cream. Reinforcing her going. It's, very simple stuff, making sure that you appreciate that she went. Just do it for me. I mean, you may not feel like it's working, but you know what? Just see it out, and then reinforcing when she does go that this is a big deal, and you're so glad that she went, and that and making sure your door is always open to talk. I mean, unfortunately, you can't they're not. It's not going to be very therapeutic if they're not wanting to be receptive. They may just cross their arms and not talk to a therapist. Finding the right therapist is another part of that being successful too. So you know what? It doesn't sound like he said you didn't really talk much. Follow up with the therapist, and then say, let's fire this guy. Let's get somebody that you like. Make them a part of that decision too. So giving them more control.
Hello. It's not really a question. It's like a story, kind of smaller story. I suffer from depression and anxiety. I'm a cutter. Well, I haven't cut in a couple weeks, so kind of good thing. But what was I going to say? Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Long. Okay, let me go to the small. But from when you said that Google can be kind of
Yeah. Malicious in a way.
So I'm suicidal as well. Like, I have ideations and all that stuff. So one day, I decided to go on Google and say, okay, let's Google ways. No, actually, I was thinking about the easiest way to kill myself. So I was like, okay, I can take a bunch of pills, because I used to take Prozac, and I was like, let me just take all this at once and see what happens. So I decided to Google what would happen if I overdosed. So I Google all this stuff, and I'm seeing these forums, and everybody's like, oh, don't do it. You're just going to get liver disease, and then it's going to take longer for you to die, and it's just going to be more painful. So I'm like, okay, I'm not going to do that, because if I want to die now, I don't want to go through all that pain. Go through pain now. I don't want to go through extra pain. So I have a plan. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to say that. But I have a plan how I would want to do it. But going to my therapist now and going to talk to a pastor and getting what's it called? Love? Yes, love from people around me.
Love.
And support.
We're getting love today too.
It's not as hard to. It's not as hard to. Because it's really hard to wake up in the morning. My worst times are in the morning. Like, I wake up and I'm just like, why am I here? I don't want to. It's hard to continue with my day. But once I get started, it's better. But anybody here who's going through it, let you know that there is hope. And yeah, I mean, life is hard, but in the end of the day, there's a purpose to our life, and it's gonna be great. So trust God. I'm still learning how to trust God every single day. So.
Oh, thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing. Powerful, powerful stuff. I'm so glad you shared that too. And those mornings are tough, but those evenings when you're here